Before pitchforks, before horns, before hell, he was just a functionary, a loyal servant of God, a persecutor. His name meant adversary, not the evil one. So how did an angel made of light become the nightmare we know? How did the goat god Pan's horns become his crown? Why did Augustine argue evil isn't real, just an absence, an emptiness carved out by pride? Artists saw the truth. Giotto painted him blue and flesh-stitched, chewing souls like rotten fruit. Bosch saw a hollow god on a toilet throne, excreting the damned into oblivion. Doré drew him as a goat-skulled stalker breathing down your neck. For 2,000 years we've sculpted, painted, and feared him, not because he's real, but because he's the mirror. He's the shape we give to the void inside us, the rebellion we crave, the pride that poisons paradise. He's a shadow cast by our own free will. This is a story of how humanity created the devil, how we stitched him from pagan gods and cosmic dread, how philosophers call him a nothingness that consumes worlds, and why artists keep painting his face even when we stopped believing. In the ancient world, concepts of ultimate evil were often more fluid. Think back to the early Hebrew texts. There, Satan wasn't necessarily a fallen angel, but more like a celestial persecutor, a loyal servant of God, challenging human faithfulness, like his role questioning Job's motives. He was an adversary, yes, but operating within the divine court. Over centuries, particularly during the periods of exile and hardships, the Jews are thought to have absorbed influences like the Parisian Zoroastrianism with its dualism of a hero master, which was light, versus the Angra Mainyu, which was destruction. This sharpened the idea of an opposing power. Figures like Azazel, the rebellious watcher angels, and the serpent in Eden began coalescing into a more defined enemy of God and humanity. Meanwhile, across the Mediterranean, Greek mythology offered different shades. They lacked a single, all-powerful embodiment of evil. Hades ruled the underworld, a somber place, but not inherently malevolent. Tricksters like Prometheus challenged divine authorities, while figures like Titanic, Typhon represented chaotic, destructive forces. These weren't the devil. They provided archetypes such as rebels, the deceivers, and the monstrous force that later interpretations would draw upon. So how did the fallen angel become the horned beast? This is where cultural collision and theological interpretation truly ignite the image. Early Christian art often depicted Satan as a dark angel, sometimes hideous, sometimes still strangely beautiful. But as the church expanded into pagan Europe, it demonized local deities. Horned gods like Cernunnos or Pan, who were symbols of fertility, wilderness, and untamed nature, got recast as diabolical. Their horns, once symbol of power and virality, became marks of bestial evil. Cloven hooves, borrowed from satyrs and fawns, emphasized animalistic lust and primal chaos. The medieval mind, steeped in allegory and vivid imagery of sin and hellfire, fused these images. The devil became the grotesque antithesis of divine beauty. From hairy, bestial, horned, clawed, which embodied the basest sins of the flesh and the terrifying chaos lurking outside the ordered Christian world. Philosophers wrestled deeply with this figure. St. Augustine grappled profoundly with evil's origin. If God is all good and all powerful, how does evil exist? Augustine concluded evil wasn't created, but it was a privation, a twisting or absence of good stemming from the misuse of free will. Satan, the brightest angel, chose pride over love, turning this perfect will away from God, creating the void where evil festered. Thomas Aquinas later refined this, seeing Satan's sin as the ultimate act of pride and envy. The devil wasn't God's equal adversary in power, but rather the embodiment of radical, self-destructive rejection of the good. This philosophical grounding shaped centuries of understanding. The devil represented the terrifying potential within free will itself to choose darkness. Artists became the visual theologians, translating these complex ideas into forms that chilled spines and stirred souls. In Scrovegni Chapel in Padua, high on the wall, hell yawns open. Giotto's Saturn isn't subtle. He is a massive blue-skinned monstrosity, devouring souls whole. Horns crown his head, bat-like wings spread wide, his body a chaotic mass of fur and scales. He sits enthroned on a dragon, surrounded by demons tormenting the damned. This is the medieval devil incarnate, the grotesque consumer, the lord of chaotic suffering, reflecting the era's visceral fear of divine punishment and the physical horrors of hell. Giotto makes the theological concept terrifyingly tangible. Just before the Renaissance peaks, Signorelli delivers a masterpiece of muscular horror. His hell is a writhing pit of athletic, tormented bodies. The devil here is less a single monstrous king and more an integral part of the chaos. Demonic figures, powerfully built and horned, actively hull and torment the naked damned. Signorelli's genius lies in the classical beauty twisted in horror. His demons have the perfect anatomy of Greek statues perverted into instruments of agony. This reflects the Renaissance grappling with classical ideals while still being bound by intense medieval piety. Beauty corrupted becomes terrifying. Open the right panel of Bosch's bewildering triptych and you enter a Boschian hell unlike any other. There's no single central Satan. Instead, hell is a surreal, mechanized nightmarescape. Demonic hybrids, part fish, part bird, part machine, oversee bizarre tortures, reflecting the scenes depicted in the central panel. A bird-headed figure enthroned on a commode, devouring damned souls who are excreted below, might be the closest to a ruler. Bosch's devil isn't just a beast. He's the architect of a world where human folly and sensory indulgence have decayed into a terrifying, inescapable absurdity. It's deeply psychological and symbolic, reflecting the late medieval anxieties about sin, temptation, and the deceptive nature of worldly pleasure. Doré represents a different encounter. A resolute knight rides through a dark gorge ignoring the ghastly figure of death holding an hourglass beside him and the monstrous, horned, snorted devil trailing behind. This devil is bestial, goat-like, embodying base fear and temptation meant to shake the knight's faith. Doré focuses on the devil as a constant physical presence of temptation and dread that the virtuous must steadfastly resist. It captures the Northern Renaissance's focus on individual piety and the internal struggles against evil in a turbulent world. Lake, the visionary romantic, reimagined Milton's Satan and biblical prophecy. His red dragon, who is Satan, in the Revelation series, is so inspiring and terrifying. It's a colossal, muscular, scaly beast with bat wings and multiple heads, radiating raw, destructive power. Blake often depicted Satan as a figure of immense, albeit perverted energy, almost a tragic symbol of rebellion against oppressive authority. His devil reflects the romantic fascination with the sublime, the power of the individual will, and a critique of the institutional tyranny. Dore's engravings brought Milton's epic poems to life for the Victorian era. His Satan is monumental, a figure of heroic tragedy. We see him colossal and defiant in hell, brooding in solitude and famously as a toad whispering in Eve's ear. Dawes masterfully captures Satan's grandeur, his profound despair, and his insidious cunning. These images cemented the Romantic and Victorian view of Satan as a complex, almost sympathetic anti-hero, a charismatic leader whose fatal flaw was pride. His impact on popular visual culture was immense. Moving towards symbolism, artists like Murrow and Redon explored the devil's psychological and mythical dimensions. Murrow painted ambiguous, often beautiful yet sinister figures laden with jewels and mystery, suggesting decadence and hidden corruption. Redon's lithographs, like Silenius, present a more bestial, primal devil emerging from dreamlike darkness, embodying the subconscious fears and irrational forces that fascinated the symbolists. The devils are less about theology and more about the inner abyss and the seduction of the unknown. The 20th and 21st centuries rarely depict the literal horned devil. Instead, artists channel the concept of evil. Francis Bacon's screaming popes and distorted figures evoke existential terror and inner torment, a modern psychological manifestation of the demonic. Contemporary art often explores systemic evil, societal corruption, or the banality of evil, reflecting the horrors of war, genocide, and alienation. The devil becomes less a supernatural being and more a metaphor for humanity's capacity for destruction and the pervasive darkness within systems and individuals. This figure, this ever-evolving shadow, has left a mark far beyond theology. The devil became the ultimate symbol of temptation and transgression. Stories, sermons, and art featuring him served a powerful tool for enforcing moral codes and social order. Fear of the devil kept many in line. He provided an explanation for suffering, misfortune, and inexplicable evil. For example, the devil made me do it. He was a convenient scapegoat for societal ills and personal failings. Ironically, the devil's defiance also made him a symbol for rebels and outsiders. Romantics like Byron saw a heroic figure in his struggles against tyranny. rock music, counterculture, and even fashion have co-opted his imagery as symbols of nonconformity and challenging authority. As we've seen, he has been an unparalleled muse, from terrifying frescoes to complex romantic portraits to modern metaphors. The challenge of depicting ultimate evil has pushed artistic boundaries, fueled imaginations, and produced some of the most powerful and enduring images in Western art. He forced artists to confront darkness, beauty, tragedy, and the human condition itself. He permeates our language and is central to countless stories, from Faust to The Exorcist, exploring the cost of ambition, the nature of temptation, and the battle for the soul. So there it is, from the shadowy challenger in God's court to the tragic fallen angel, synthesized with pagan horned gods, into the monstrous Lord of Hell, dissected by philosophers and endlessly reinterpreted by artists. The devil remains a potent cultural force. He is less a fixed being and more a mirror reflecting our deepest fears about ourselves, our capacity for pride, our susceptibility to temptation, the existence of suffering, and the terrifying allure of the forbidden. He is the embodiment of the question, why does evil exist? And as long as that question haunts us, the devil, in all his shifting forms, will continue to captivate, terrify, and inspire. Thank you for watching. Until the next one.